Hi, good morning. It's me, Kae Pea. I'm here in my studio, the Moon and the Maker, home of RubberMoon art stamps, and we are counting, well, we're not counting down, we're stamping down to Christmas. And today is day number 7, I believe. I'm not even going to say the days because I get them confused, and the weekends really throw me off. And since I was gone on Friday, that really threw me off. So I just give up. But we're going to stamp down every weekday here at 11 until Christmas, and then who knows what we'll do after that. Maybe we'll just stamp down to the new year too, right? I think that's a good idea. Anyway, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with one of Kim Geyser's images, and of course I thought I would choose an angel since it's that time of year and I love her angel. And we're going to do a little bit of stamp splashing again, only I'm going to bring in another little element, and that is something new. Throwing it into the mix. These are some Pebeo masking fluid markers, and I absolutely love them. They're brand new. I've only tried them for the first time this morning, which I've heard about them and I've been dying to try them. If you've ever used masking film, you know what a pain it can be. These markers are fabulous. They have 2 different nibs, a 4mm and a 7mm. So a little bit, you can see the nibs here, which is really cool because it comes with an extra nib right in the cap. Okay, so you're going to shake them up just like you would any like marker pen or paint pen. And then once you get it shaken pretty well, you're going to press down on the nib until it starts to flow. Okay, I'm going to set these aside just for a couple minutes and then I'll show you how I used them. I have a piece of watercolor paper here. This happens to be hot press, but I just had a couple little scraps on my table. This one's cold press, this one's hot press, but I like them both, so I'm just going to use that. I have some water here, fresh water on my table, and a nice, let me get out my paintbrush here. Oops, oh, sorry about that. Whoa. That's one way to get you seasick. So I'm going to say good morning to Libby and Deborah, Emily, good to see you. Libby, Jan, okay, great. Now, Jan, don't worry, it's going to be pretty quick, I think, so I won't hold you back from your morning routine. And Joy Anthony, nice to see you. All right, so I have my stamp here. I am going to use more of a flat sort of wash brush here. And my paints, I do have my nice little core set here, and then I also have a variety in my little pans here that mostly are core, but some are, you know, a mixture. It doesn't matter, whatever you like. I'm going to go ahead, I have my stamp placed on an acrylic block here, and I'm just going to again start painting my stamp. All over with sort of this sort of light pink color. I don't want my brush too wet. For those of you who watched World Watercolor Month back in July and we splashed our stamps every day, then you sort of know. But if you missed that technique, you can always go back and watch those videos if you're interested. But I'm just going to paint some different colors, like I'm making her eyes blue. I'm going to paint on her mouth a little bit more darker, and her cheeks just a little darker magenta. I'm going to put just, again, a little touch of blue in her wings, and possibly also a little touch of yellow. I think that would be nice. I want to darken her eyebrows just a little bit, so I think I'm going to go into just a little bit of, I don't know what color, I can't remember what color brown It is, let's see, I think a burnt umber. Let's see, right before, hold on, I'm just, yeah, this is a burnt umber. So I just am going to paint her eyebrows and maybe around her face a little bit. And maybe throw in just a little bit of orange in her hair. Okay, so now I think I have it kind of colored up the way I'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and just stamp it right on my watercolor paper. Good morning, Alba and Estrella. Okay, and you can see it didn't transfer all the way. It got a little bit dry, but that's okay. I can go back in and paint some of my details. One thing I am going to do at this point, and I'm doing it right now because I want it to dry while I'm doing the rest of the painting, is I am going to go ahead and take my 4mm, which is my little bit thicker masking fluid marker, and I'm going to write on the background. I want I'm just going to say the same thing. Oh, hear the angel voices. And then I'm just going to give some dots, almost, I guess, as if they may be stars or something in the background. And of course, if I wanted to draw stars, I could definitely do that. I just want some little nice white, which will be white dots in the background. All right. So I'm going to allow that to dry. I'm not going to paint anything in the background right now. I'm just going to completely work on my angel, and I'm going to start by kind of fixing up her eyes a little bit. So as we're doing this, I just want to wish everyone a nice holiday season. I hope that everything is treating you well and that you're wherever you want to be with your Christmas preparations. So right now I'm just going to, like I said, go in and sort of finesse it a little bit and paint in some of the details that are missing. I don't have to, I can be as loose as I want or as detail oriented as I want. Whoop, oh, little butterfingery over here. I'm just going back in with that same orange that I stamped her hair in, and I'm just going to throw a quick wash of it right over the top. Some of the detail from the stamp will show through and some won't. Depends on how opaque that I paint, but it's okay. I want it to sort of have just a loose and washy watercolor look. Down here, as you can see, the stamp sort of cuts off right there, but I'm going to go ahead and paint in, and I'm going to let it go all the way to the bottom of the page and just paint that off, and you'll never even know that it had a line there. Sort of nice things too that I can do if I want to. I could go in and actually preserve some of the white spaces in her wings. As long as my watercolor is good and dry, I should be able to paint in using my little my little masking pen. And the nice thing, if you've used masking fluid, masking film, then not film, it is fluid, masking fluid. If you've used, or it's also called Frisket, okay? If you've used that, then you know how sort of tricky it can be and sort of temperamental and kind of thick, a little bit difficult to get too much detail. The nice thing about this is it's very thin, so it dries really quickly. So I am able to, and I'm going to work on this one just because I know it's completely dry right now. I am able to paint right over relatively quickly, and not have to wait for hours for the masking film to masking fluid. I'm sorry, I keep misspeaking, but for the masking fluid to I shouldn't say dry because it's not like it ever dries. It stays tacky, more like a rubber cement, but takes a while for it to get set up enough to where you can paint over it. With this masking fluid pen, it is pretty quick, which I, again, love because, you know, we like that instant gratification sometimes. So I had already, before I came on to do my demo, I had already painted the little dots and the words that said, oh, hear the angel voices. So now I will sort of let this one dry for a couple minutes before I remove all that and show you the end result. And of course, my angel on this one is not complete, but that's okay. All right, I'll pull this one back over because I think I'm going to like her actually better when I'm done, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue to paint her in a little bit. I'm using a little combination of that sort of light pink and a little bit of the burnt umber that I used to stamp her, sort of, you know, that I used to paint in her eyebrows and her around her face. And of course, if you want to go in and add some other little, you know, some other hues to do some color mixing directly on your paper, that is great. And of course, I may like to go in this point and sort of, again, do a little more detail-y work around her. The one thing is you kind of need to be careful and be patient, which is sort of hard for me, because if I start going in there with this dark color and her face is still wet, it will bleed. So I'm going to refrain from that for a moment. And you can kind of see where it's bleeding there underneath her mouth, where I just got a little paint in the wet part, so I'm just blotting it with a dry paper towel. Now I feel like definitely this outside is dry enough for me to go in and do the same thing, so I'm going to do that. I decided to use a little bit different color on this one than on that one. I'm using a cobalt blue and a little bit of lavender. And of course, remember I masked off some of the areas in her wings, so I could paint directly over that. Now it will change the color a little bit of the outline that I put down, but that's okay. What it's going to do is sort of darken that, and the rest of it will stay white wherever I have the masking film. All right, and I'll move away from that again and go back. Yeah, Jan has a good point. If you do a whole bunch at once, you can keep rotating and you don't have to wait for it to dry. Well, I mean, you still have to wait for it to dry, but if you're impatient like me, you can just move ahead. All right, so that I got a little bit of darkness in her eyes, which I don't mind. It is bleeding a little bit just because it's not completely dry, but that's okay. I don't really mind it, especially the way it bled. And so, but I am going to add a little bit more darkness just so that it's balanced a little bit. Of course, I can continue to blot it a little if it bothers me as well. So, and then, with when you're doing stuff like this, don't be afraid to go back in and add some little details. I just want to put some little hearts on her dress. Or whatever. You could do florals or, whatever floats your boat. A little more color to her wings. And of course, I feel like there would be a little bit of yellow around her head, maybe a little hint of a halo. Again, just a little more reflected color for balance. Then, of course, I mean, if I wasn't doing a demo and I was just here alone in my studio, I'd probably work on her eye just a little bit more. But, I like that kind of, again, loose, washy look. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to continue to let this dry. I feel like this should be dry enough for me to go ahead and remove and show you. You can either, if you don't have a lot of masking fluid, you can use your finger. It's really pretty thin and easy enough. If you just have a little bit to rub away, it's fine. If you have a lot, that can kind of get annoying on your finger. So I suggest a rubber cement pickup. Okay. It's just sort of like this gummy thing. It's not an eraser. It's just like really compacted rubber. And you can use that to pull away the masking film fluid. I keep saying that. Now, I want you to know there is a masking film that is a thin layer of sort of a low tack paper. So it is different. There is masking film, and I keep saying film instead of fluid. The liquidy stuff is fluid or Frisket. And so you can see what it did. It just preserved the white of my paper and sort of made quick work of that little bit of background words and dots that I wanted to show. Okay, obviously this is very rough. I will definitely like this one better, but I wanted to be able to show you. And I can't rub all this away yet because it's still a little bit too wet. I would not want to blow dry this or heat set it in any way, because if I do, that will bond, it will make the masking fluid bond to my paper, and it will make it difficult to remove or impossible. Okay. So I will remove the masking film in just a couple minutes, or in a few minutes, and then I'll finish up her eyes, and then I'll go ahead and post a picture. I want to thank you all again, as I do every day, for joining me, not only for STAMPdown, of course, but for anything I do. I appreciate it, and it means the moon to me. Anyway, thank you. Have a wonderful day. I hope you get a chance to go get Makey, and I will see you back here tomorrow at 11 for our STAMPdown. I'm going to guess that it's number 8. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day. Yeah, so Libby Frisket, no, it's spelled Frisket, and Jan says Frisket is more frisky than fluid. Yes, you're correct. Anyway, thanks again. If you have any questions, post them here or send me a message. I'll always answer you. See y'all later. Thanks again.